Shalom, shalom, shalom. Brother Jose Fisherman for Zion coming back with another video through the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Give all glory and honor to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua HaMashiach. Call like Yahweh Bashem HaMashiach Yahushua. Call like Yahweh Bashem HaMashiach Yahushua. All glory and honor to the Most High, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, the Alpha, the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the ending, Prince of Peace, the burden bearer. All glory and honor to the Most High for another day in the land of living, another day in His truth, knowing our nationality, our heritage, laws, statutes, commandments that He has given back to the so-called Black Hispanics and Native Americans in these last days, and rising them up from the dust that we once was buried in, and the wicked try to cast us off, try to utterly annihilate us, but through the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua and the Most High's compassion, we still waking up in these last days, and it's through His grace and mercy, and it's only by the Most High. Peace and blessings to the elders that have taught me, brothers that I learned from and elders that I learned from. All glory and honor to the Most High for you mighty elders that's been in this thing 10, 20, 30 plus years and still going on the highways and byways to this day, week by week, doing the work, waking up the lost sheep, the house of Israel. Peace and blessings to you. Most High bless you and your household and your children and your family and all of your labors. And Lord willing, is not in vain. And peace and blessing to those brothers that are building themselves up, forsaking the flesh and the cares of this world, getting themselves in order, getting their houses in order, and abstaining from all evil and wickedness, and abstaining from all appearance of evil. 1 Thessalonians 5. Peace and blessing to you. Continue to labor and do all you can for the Most High, for the nation of Israel, as the words say. We endure all things for the elect's sake, and peace and blessings to their wives and the children and the households, reverencing their husband and honoring their mother and their father to the best of their ability, and abstaining from all appearances of evil as well. Peace and blessings to you and to those sisters and the wives that are not married as of yet. Continue to present your body and live a sacrifice as well to the best of your ability, and continue to reverence and magnify Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, our King, our Lord, and our Savior, that is set forth to deliver the righteous elect, the hopeful elect, through the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Lord willing, that's me and you. Lord willing, we can get delivered out of here in the second coming of Mashiach Yahushua. Coming back with another video, touching on don't appear before the Lord empty. Dealing with Pentecost, Feast of First Fruits, Feast of Harvest. Because this is a high holy day that we supposed to be keeping, and Lord willing, you're keeping it to the best of your ability. As of right now, Fisherman for Zion is keeping it to the best of our ability. Started Sabbath, Saturday sundown to Sunday sundown, May the 27th, so-called May 27th, until the night at sundown. But nevertheless, touching on these feast days and these holy days that we're commanded to keep. And, you can find many of them in Leviticus 23, Exodus, and, you may read about them in the so-called New Testament and various parts of the New Testament. But nevertheless, before we dive into it, I'm going to get this precept in First Chronicles right quick, because the Most High has given us feast days, our holy days. He has blessed us with, many things, to be able to reverence and magnify and to have. Because when we was in the world, we used to keep wicked holidays, as of I believe tomorrow is Memorial Day, where they do memorial, do a memory of the soldiers that fought for this country, man. And a lot of wicked and folly and madness, and you got 4th of July coming up, all type of folly and madness, Independence, a wicked Independence Day, and after that you may have, all type of Labor Day and Halloween and Thanksgiving and all type of folly and madness. But, we have to come back as so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, as Israelites, to keeping these high holy days and these feast days that the Most High has given us. So let me bring this precept out before we get into it. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 16, and I'm going to start at verse 9. So like First Chronicles 16 and verse 9. First Chronicles 16 and 9. And it reads, sing unto him, sing psalms unto him, talk ye of all his wondrous works. Glory ye in his holy name. Let the heart of them rejoice that seek the Lord Yahweh. And we should be seeking the Lord more and more, especially as you read about in Isaiah, the 34th chapter. First Chronicles 16 and 12. Remember his marvelous works that he had done, his wonders, and the judgments of his mouth. O ye seed of Israel, his servant, ye children of Jacob, his chosen ones. So the Most High has chosen the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Those are at the bottom. Those that been, given a proverb, a byword, an astonishment, living in the projects and the slums, the last hire, the first fire, those who, had their names changed, who don't know their nationality, who don't know who their true God is, who've been without a priest, a king, the Israelites, man, the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, Verse 14, First Chronicles 16 and 14. He is the Lord Yahweh our God, power. His judgments are in all the earth. Be ye mindful always of his covenant, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations, even of the covenant which he made with Abraham, and of his oath unto Isaac, and had confirmed the same to Jacob for a law, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant, saying, unto thee will I give the land of Canaan, the lot of your inheritance. So the Most High is dealing with the Israelites, man, the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And knowing that, we have to come back to the Most High God, keeping the law, statutes, commandments, and the feast days and the high holy days that the Most High has given us. So let's go to Exodus chapter 34. And I'm going to start at verse 18. Exodus chapter 34 and verse 18. And it reads, the feast of unleavened bread shalt thou keep. 7 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread, as I commanded thee, in the time of the month Abib. For in the month Abib thou camest out from Egypt. And that was around March. When you go into, the understanding of, how seasons are being predicated upon, how the Most High has given us lights and, signs and things of his creation to be understood by, things that we see. Let me get that right quick. This is Genesis chapter 1, starting at verse 14, and it reads, and God power said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. You see that? So the Most High has given us things that we would be able to understand for, signs that we be able to tell. And not just that, you got weather, you got time around the times of the seasons that flowers bloom, that crops are able to grow after we have planted seeds and things like that. So the Most High has given us signs in these seasons, in these months, in these times of the years, of the day, of the month, to be able to understand certain things. Verse 19, Exodus 34:19. All that open the matrix is mine, and every firstling among thy cattle, whether ox or sheep, that is male. So even the animals belong to the Most High. Verse 20. But the firstling of an ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb, and if thou redeem him not, then shalt thou break his neck. All the firstborn of thy sons thou shalt redeem, and none shall appear before me empty. You see that? But we're going to touch a little bit more on this appear before the Most High empty a little later on, but we're going to continue on with this. Verse 21, 6 days shalt thou work, but on the 7th day thou shalt rest. In earing time and in harvest thou shalt rest. And thou shalt observe the feast of weeks, of the first fruits of wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end. You see that? So it's called the Feast of Weeks, of first fruits of wheat harvest, ingathering. Because our forefathers, they were and our foremothers, which we would read, they was agricultural people. We had the necessary means of having land and having livestock to be able to benefit and reap from it, and also to have food and have necessary things that we needed, because now you have the grocery stores and these warehouses that produce food. We've been cursed for so long that we don't have the ability to control how we produce our own food. So now we have to deal with our enemies being able to control the water, control the meat, control the bread, control the wheat, control the barley, and things like that. We don't have that necessary mean to be able to do that now. Lord willing, we will get back to that in the days of when our King, our Savior, Hamashiach Yahushua, the Messiah, come back and get this thing in order, how it's supposed to be, in righteousness. And now we're dealing with, being out of course, having GMO foods. You don't know what's in this, you don't know what's in that. You don't know if this is really what it says it is. We've been cursed. That's Deuteronomy. We don't want to hearken unto Moses, as the Most High has given him the ability to give us the laws, statutes, and commandments. So now we stuck with having to serve our enemies in hunger and in thirst. But we're going to read it in Deuteronomy. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 48. And it reads, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord Yahweh shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst. So, whatever we want to eat, even if it's some bread, we got to get it from our enemies, and anything, even if we want to drink, we got to get it from our enemies, which once, we had everything, we didn't have to worry about going to our enemies, but we disobeyed the Most High God. And now we having to serve our enemies. And now we're in slavery and under their command, being oppressed by them. Let's read this one more time. Deuteronomy 28 and 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which the Lord Yahweh shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. You see that? And even so much so, our enemies put yokes of iron over our necks, and now we don't have those yokes of iron anymore because we're destroyed as a people. Didn't the Lord say in Hosea 4, 7 and 8, my people shall be destroyed? Let's get that right quick. This is Hosea chapter 4. So like in Hosea 4 and 6. Hosea chapter 4 verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God power. I will also forget thy children. And that goes back to Isaiah the 5th chapter. So the Most High, have rejected us. Even though our forefathers, fell short, the children are rejected, because our forefathers fell short. Let me get that right quick in Psalms. Let's go to Psalms. Let me see, Psalms It's the book of Psalms, chapter 106 and verse 6, and it reads, "We have sinned with our fathers. We have committed iniquity. We have done wickedly. Our fathers understood not thy wonders in Egypt. They remember not the multitude of thy mercies, but provoked him at the Red Sea. Even at the Red Sea, nevertheless, he saved them for his name's sake, that he might make his mighty power to be known." You see that? Even so much so, let me get this in Lamentation. You know, the same thing. Lamentation chapter 5. Lamentation chapter 5, starting at verse 7. And it reads, "Our fathers have sinned and are not," meaning they're not here. Meaning we're that generation now that's carrying, that's moving forth in their footsteps. Our fathers have sinned and are not, and we have borne their iniquities, meaning we carry, you know, the iniquities, you know, and it's passed down, you know. So hey, we had the land, we had a lot of things that we think we should have now, you know, and we had it back then without having to pay taxes, without having to answer to somebody, without having to, you know, have somebody come and record and document a lot of things that we have, you know. And now we're subject to our enemies, you know, the oppressor, because we fell short. We didn't keep the laws, statutes, and commandments. We didn't obey the Most High, you know. Hey, didn't the Most High say obedience is better than sacrifice, you know, in 1 Samuel? Let me get that right quick. 1 Samuel chapter 15. This is 1 Samuel chapter 15, and I'm going to start at verse 22. 1 Samuel chapter 15 and verse 22. "And Samuel said, Had the Lord Yahweh as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord Yahweh? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams." You see that? So the Most High, hey, he's pleased by us obeying rather than sacrificing, you know. So let's go back to Exodus chapter 34. Exodus chapter 34, starting at verse 22. "And thou shalt observe the feast of weeks, of the first fruits of wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end. Thrice in the year shall all your men children appear before the Lord God power, the God power of Israel." You see that? So 3 times in a year we supposed to appear before the Most High to be able to keep these feast days that he had commanded us to keep, you know. Now we don't have the ability to go into, you know, the specific place that he has set forth to be at, to be able to keep these 3 feast days, you know. And we're going to read about it. We're going to get the precept, you know. Now we have to rehearse such things while being in our captivity, you know. Let me get that right quick. This is Judges chapter 5 and verse 11. Judges chapter 5 verse 11, and it reads, "They that are delivered from the noise of archers in the place of drawing water, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord Yahweh, even the righteous acts towards the inhabitants of his villages in Israel. Then shall the people of the Lord Yahweh go down to the gates." You see that? So, you know, right now we are rehearsing the righteous acts. You know, even though we can't be able to keep the law to the T like we supposed to, you know, we have an advocate, you know, we have a lawyer, we have somebody that's going to plead on our behalf to get us back to Yahweh. You know, we have Hamashiach Yahushua, we have Christ, the Messiah, to get us back to the Father by us keeping the faith, keeping the laws, statutes, commandments to the best of our ability, you know. So let me finish this. Exodus chapter 34 and verse 24. "For I will cast out the nations before thee, and enlarge thy borders. Neither shall any man desire thy land when thou shalt go upon, when thou shalt go up to appear before the Lord Yahweh, thy God power, thrice in the year. You see that? So the Most High literally just said, hey, he was going to make a way where we would be able to go, before the Most High, to be able to keep these days and not have to worry about nothing. Now we got doors, we got locks and things on our houses and on our windows, and we can kind of lock things up. But in the days of old, the Most High will put a spirit on that land to where nobody would go and try to steal or do anything to our land or our livestock or any of our property or things that belong to us while we was away, for those feasts. Let me get that right quick in Genesis. This is Genesis chapter 35, and I'm gonna start at verse 5. Because we didn't have nobody just sit back and just, we couldn't just tell nobody, hey, just watch over my stuff while I'm gone. I'll be back. We didn't have locks. We didn't have cameras and alarm systems and things like that. Hey, we had Yahweh Shem Yahushua. This is Genesis chapter 35, verse 5. And they journeyed, and the terror of God power was upon the cities that were round about them, and they did not pursue after the sons of Jacob. So the terror of the Most High was around, to protect, so nobody won't try to overthrow or spoil, or try to hurt or harm, So let me get this in Acts right quick. This is Acts chapter 1. And let me see what I want. This is Acts chapter chapter 18. This is Acts chapter 18. I'm gonna start at verse 10. I'm gonna start at verse 9. Acts chapter 18 and verse 9, showing you how the Most High gets down, and how long as we just do what he's told to do and trust and believe, hey, the Most High gonna do his part. And he does his part very well. Acts chapter 18 and verse 9. Then spake the Lord to Paul in the night by a vision, be not afraid, but speak, and hold not thy peace. Verse 10, for I am with thee, and no man shall set on thee to hurt thee, for I have much people in this city. You see that? So, hey, the Most High can do anything. He can be a hedge of protection. He could put a spirit on that specific land to have people not even want to hurt or harm you. And even so much in the in Jacob's trouble that's set forth to come, in the days ahead, in the days of evil, hey, the Most High can wherever you go, the Most High can put a spirit around the area to have you protected, to make sure you don't even get touched. Hey, the Most High can do that, man. And you have to believe and know that. Not having in your mind is some fairy tale or something, that might happen. If the Lord wanted to do that, it can happen. It will come to pass if he wanted that to be like that. So let's go back to this. Exodus chapter 34 and verse 25. Thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leaven. Ye shall, neither shall the sacrifice of the feast of the Passover be left unto the morning. The first of the first fruit of thy land thou shalt bring unto thy house of the Lord Yahweh thy God power. Thou shalt not sit a kid in his mother's milk. So hey, we with the Pentecost and the Feast of First Fruits, from the time that we kept the Passover, we are commanded to number 7 Sabbaths, within that time frame, which would be 7 times 7 is 49, which would be that next day will be 50. That's where you get the word Pentecost from, So let's go to Leviticus chapter 23. Leviticus chapter 23, And we kept the Fisherman for Zion kept the Passover April 3rd at sundown. So you would literally number 49 days, and that next day will be your Pentecost, which in Pentecost you find it in the old, so like the New Testament as well, and it literally goes into Greek 50th, you know. So let me get this in Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 9. Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 9. When you read Leviticus 1 through 8, it's going into the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, you know, but for sake of time, you know, we're going to make sure we keep things moving, you know, in the sense of being able to get understanding on, you know, this holy day. Leviticus chapter 23 verse 9, and it reads, "And the Lord Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When you become into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest, and he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord Yahweh to be accepted for you on the morrow after the Sabbath. The priest shall wave it, and ye shall offer that day when ye wave the sheaf and he lamb without blemish of the Lord Yahweh, first year, so like of the first year, for a burnt offering unto the Lord Yahweh. And the meat offering thereof shall be 2 tenth deals of fine flour mingled with oil, and an offering made by fire unto the Lord Yahweh for a sweet savor. And the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the 4th part of an hin. And ye shall eat neither bread nor parched corn, nor green ears unto the selfsame day that ye have brought an offering unto your God power. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings." You see that? So a lot of things that was commanded of us of the days of old were us to gather up the 10th part, you know, of our increase, you know, and give it to the Levites, you know, which we don't have, you know, search order set up to this day, because we lost a lot of that, you know, especially being in captivity and being under curses. You know, now we have a different thing set up with the Most High, you know, him being the high priest, him, you know, being, you know, the one who deals with our sacrifices. Now we have different sacrifices that we do on a spiritual scale, being that we don't have to sacrifice, you know, animals and, you know, corn and things like that given for an offering, you know. So Leviticus 23 and 15, "And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath," and the Sabbath was yesterday, you know, Friday sundown or Saturday sundown, "And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall ye complete. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall ye number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord Yahweh. Ye shall bring out of your habitations 2 wave loaves of 2 tenth deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be they shall be baking with leaven. They are the first fruits unto the Lord Yahweh." You see that? So we had certain things that we had to go by, you know, and certain things that the Levitical priesthood had to go by, you know. Let me go down to verse 21, Leviticus 23 and 21. "And ye shall proclaim on the selfsame day, that it may be in holy convocation unto you. Ye shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. And when ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not make clean riddance of the corners of thy field when thou reapest, neither shalt thou gather any gleaning of the harvest. Thou shalt leave them unto the poor and to the stranger. I am the Lord your God power, Yahweh." You see that? So hey, we had certain things set up, you know, to be able to do on a scale of having the Levitical priesthood be able to set up certain things for us, you know. Now, let me get this quick piece up on how Aaron, when he was in charge of certain sacrifices and what he did. This is Leviticus chapter 16, and I'm gonna start at verse 5. Leviticus 16:5. And he shall take of the congregation of the children of Israel 2 kids of the goats for a sin offering, and 1 ram for a burnt offering. And Aaron shall offer his bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and make an atonement for himself. This is what Aaron had to do, during the Day of Atonement, for himself, and then, for the nation of Israel, and for his house. And he shall take the 2 goats and present them before the Lord Yahweh at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And Aaron shall cast lots upon the 2 goats, and 1 lot for the Lord Yahweh, and the other lot for the scapegoat. You see that? So, Aaron, he was set up to do certain things, not only for the nation of Israel, but for himself and his household as well. That was commanded. So he had to make sure he did what he was supposed to do. And even so much so, now we have to make sure, as being so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, Israelites, we have to do certain things, when giving up these sacrifices and giving up these offerings to the Most High, being that we don't have a Levitical priesthood still to this day. There's still things that we have to do. Lord willing, we'll be able to get into it. But let's go to Deuteronomy 16:16. This is Deuteronomy chapter 16 and verse 16. And it reads, Deuteronomy 16:16. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord Yahweh thy God power, in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles. You see that? So Pentecost is called Feast of Weeks, as well as first fruits, as we just read. And it said the males had to appear before the Lord 3 times. You see that? So let's read down. Deuteronomy 16:17. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord Yahweh, thy God power, which he had given thee. So the Lord had given the Israelites, land and things enough to be able to having a certain percentage given back to him. So let's go to Exodus right quick. Let's go to Exodus. Exodus chapter 22. Look at Exodus chapter 22. I'm going to start at verse 29. Exodus chapter 22, verse 29. And it reads, Thou shalt not delay to offer the first of thy ripe fruits and of thy liquors. The firstborn of thy sons shalt thou give unto me. You see that? So, you had, in the days of old, the ability, to be able to make sure you gave what was required of you to give, and it was certain things set up that if you didn't, the Most High would jam you up. He would jam your land up, and if you did, the Most High would increase you. The Most High would increase your land, and even more on the spiritual level, which we're going to get to after we get through the, how things were done in the ancient days. The Most High would increase you, according to the ability that you giving back to him. So let's go to Nehemiah. Let's go to Nehemiah chapter 10. Nehemiah chapter 10, starting at verse 35. Nehemiah chapter 10 and verse 35. And to bring the first fruits of our ground and the first fruits of all fruit of all trees year by year unto the house of the Lord Yahweh. Because, we had land. We had the ability to be able to do such things to, to have the necessary means, because, Job, Job has such things like that as well. Let's get this in Job, Cause Job was a wealthy man, you know, and it wasn't wealthy like he had hundreds in his pocket. He had blue faces. He had gold. He had quarters and dimes and nickels and things like that. You know, we had livestock. We had land. You know, this is Job chapter 42 and verse 12. So the Job chapter 42 verse 12, and it reads, so the Lord Yahweh blessed the latter end of Job more than his beginning, for he had 14,000 sheep and 6,000 camels and 1,000 yoke of oxen and 1,000 she asses. See that? So hey, our forefathers, they had it, you know. And now we thinking we gotta have all of this paper money, which has no value in order to be rich, to be viewed as rich. You know, we thinking we gotta have a Rolls Royce. We thinking we gotta have 3-story houses, 2-story houses. You know, hey, that's not, you know, that's not what it is. That's not what it is. Land, livestock, cattle, ram, goats, bullocks, you know, and gold, man. You know, that's how our forefathers was viewed as wealthy, you know. So let's go. Let me get this in Ruth, you know, because you had Boaz, you know, he had you know, things like that as well. Let me get this in Ruth. This is Shalakin. This is Ruth chapter 2, and I'm gonna start at verse 2. Ruth chapter 2 verse 2. And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. So like, I'm gonna start at verse 1. I kind of missed the point that I wanted to get. Ruth chapter 2 verse 1. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth. You see that? We had, our forefathers were mighty men of wealth. You know, we weren't just nigga mans. You know, we weren't just niggas, thugs, you know, savages. You know, hey, we was wealthy, man. We had gold, we had land, you know, enough land for all of these animals at that. Ruth chapter 2 verse 1. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field. So we had field that we was going to. You know, we was laboring, we was doing mighty works, you know, because if we didn't labor, we didn't eat. You know, we was out there starving. Our children would have starved. You know, the husbands would have starved. The wives would have starved. You know, we weren't just sitting in the house playing video games all the time, all day. We weren't just going to the block to shoot hoops, you know, or shooting dice. You know, we weren't acting like some niggas. You know, we was literally, you know, doing what we had to do for our households, you know. Ruth chapter 2 verse 2. And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and her hap was to light on a part of the field belonging unto Boaz, who was of the kindred of Elimelech. You know, so our foremothers, you know, the days of old, you know, they were out there working. You know, they was literally getting it done so we can have what we needed to have, so we can eat, so we, you know, we can have things that we need to provide, you know, for the poor as well. And we read about that little bit on down in this, you know. So let me go down to Ruth chapter 2 and verse, I'm gonna start at verse 7. Ruth chapter 2 and verse 7. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather. So hey, we was out there gathering, you know, and that's why you got it. First Fruits is called the in gathering, you know, because we was an agricultural people, But now we got the tractors and we got such wicked, things that we depend on for Esau and these other nations, Ruth 2:7. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came and had to continue even from the morning until now, that she tarried a little in the house. Then said Boaz unto Ruth, hearest thou not, my daughter? Go not to glean in another field, neither go from hence, but abide here fast by my maidens. You see that? So let me go down to verse 14, Ruth chapter 2, verse 14. And Boaz, and it reads, Ruth 2:14, and Boaz said unto her, at mealtime come thou hither and eat of the bread. So we was able to provide what we needed to provide to sustain ourselves, to have things that we desired, and eat of the bread and dip thy morsel in the vinegar. And she sat beside the reapers, and he reached her parched corn, and she did eat, and was sufficed and left. Verse 15, and when she was risen up to glean, Boaz commanded his young man, saying, let her glean even among the sheaves, and reproach her not. Verse 16, and let fall also some of the handfuls of purpose for her, and leave them, that she may glean them, and rebuke her not. So she gleaned in the field until evening, and beat out that she had gleaned, and it was about an ephod of barley. You see that? Now, if you go to the store nowadays and you buy your bag of wheat, you would literally see on the ingredients, it say barley, because that's what we was out there doing. We was out there, gathering up, the wheat, so we can have the barley, so we can have things that we needed to have to be able to have such foods that can satisfy us, So now we go to the grocery store, we pick up a bag of flour, that it's already been produced by, we don't know who or what they did and what all they got in there, That's why Ezekiel chapter 4. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 4. You have to eat out of the foul bread amongst the Gentiles, man. Ezekiel chapter 4 and verse 9. And it reads, take thou also unto thee wheat and barley and beans and lentils and millet and fitches, and put them in one vessel, and make thee bread thereof. So in the days of old, we had the ability to do all of that. We produced our own food. We was the ones that watched over our own food and did things that we needed to do, and to be able to have the means of feeding, our families, and we didn't have to think twice if it was nutritious. It wasn't GMO. It wasn't genetically modified. It didn't have abominable unclean things in it. Now we have to check and make sure it's clean, man. It doesn't have any pork in it. Make sure it doesn't have, stuff that can defile us, going against the law. We had what we needed to have, but we fell short of the Most High glory, and now we dealing with curses. Now we oppressed. Now we have to answer to the enemies, the heathen. Ezekiel 4:9. Take thou also unto thee wheat and barley and beans and lentils and millet and fitches, and put them in one vessel, and make thee bread thereof according to the number of the days that thou shalt lie upon thy side, 390 days shalt thou eat thereof. And thy meat which thou shalt eat shall be by weight, 20 shekels a day. From time to time shalt thou eat it. Thou shalt drink also water by measures, the sixth part of a hin from time to 2 times shalt thou drink, and thou shalt eat it as barley cakes, and thou shalt bake it with dung that cometh out of man in their sight. And this is, us being dealing with such things that having to go on in our iniquity. Verse Salaki. Hold on. This is Salaki. I lost my train of thought. This is Ezekiel 4:13. Ezekiel chapter 4, verse 13. And the Lord Yahweh said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I would drive them. You see that? And you can also go into Tobit chapter 1 about that, in Hosea 9:3. Let me get that in Tobit chapter 1 right quick. Tobit chapter 1. Tobit chapter 1, and I'm going to start at verse Tobit chapter 1, I'm going to start at verse 3, and it reads, I, Tobit, have walked all the days of my life in the way of truth and justice, and I did many alms deeds to my brethren and my nation who came with me to Nineveh into the land of Assyrians. So like Tobit 1 and 10. Tobit chapter 1 verse 10, and it reads, and when we were carried away captives to Nineveh, all my brethren and those that were of my kindred did eat of the bread of the Gentiles. You see that? So, we was, carried away, eating of the bread of the heathen, man, the wicked. Let me get this in Hosea. This is Hosea chapter 9. And I'm going to start at verse 3. Hosea chapter 9 and verse 3. And it reads, Hosea 9 and 3. They shall not dwell in the Lord's land, but Ephraim shall return to Egypt, and they shall eat unclean things in Assyria. You see that? So, you never know what's going on. You just got to pray over it, man. They may say, they may put on the label, they may say it's this, they may say it's that. But, them being wicked, are they really telling the truth? Lord, only the Lord knows, man. We just got to pray and make sure, we do our due diligence and making sure to the best of our ability that we are abstaining from abominable, unclean things, So let's go to Nehemiah chapter 10 and verse 35. Nehemiah chapter 10 and verse 35. And it reads, and to bring the first fruits of our ground and the first fruits of all fruit of all trees, year by year, unto the house of the Lord Yahweh, also the firstborn of our sons and of our cattle, as it is written in the law, and the firstlings of our herds and of our flocks, to bring to the house of our God power, Yahweh, unto the priests that minister in the house of our God power. You see that? So, it is commanded of us to do these things, man. And even though, we don't have that priesthood like we used to have, such things have been taken away, and we don't have the necessary means how we used to have them. It's just to show us and to see, how we have to remember the days of old, Verse 37, Nehemiah chapter 10, verse 37. And that we should bring the first fruits of our dough and our offerings and the fruit of all manner of trees, of wine and of oil, unto the priests, unto the chambers of the house of our God power, and the tithes of our ground unto the Levites, that the same Levites might have the tithes in all the cities of our tillage, You see that? And this is the Levitical priesthood that was able to do this on behalf, going before the Most High. Verse 38, Nehemiah chapter 10, verse 38. And the priest, the son of Aaron, shall be with the Levites when the Levites take tithes, and the Levites shall bring up the tithe of the tithes unto the house of our God power, to the chambers, and to the treasure house. Verse 39, for the children of Israel and the children of Levi shall bring the offering of the corn, of the new wine, and the oil unto the chambers, where are the vessels of the sanctuary, and the priests that minister, and the porters, and the singers, or we will not forsake the house of our God power. You see that? So we was appointed to do this, with our offerings and bringing in, a tenth, So let's go to Numbers chapter 18. Let's get Numbers chapter 18. This is Numbers chapter 18, and I'm going to start at verse 24. Numbers chapter 18 and verse 24, and it reads, but the tithes of the children of Israel, which they offer as an heave offering, and a heave is grain, that's a Hebrew word, literally Strong's H864, Strong's H8641. I believe I kind of had it written down already right here. Let me make sure I got that number right. Just to double check. Sometimes I'll be writing too fast, my handwriting. Let me make sure I got this right, Salaki. But it's literally going into grain. That's what heave is, going into grain. I want to make sure I got this Strong's number right though. Okay, Con, this 8641. Strong's 8641. Hebrew word is going into grain. Numbers chapter 18 and verse 24. But the tithes of the children of Israel, which they offer as an heave offering unto the Lord Yahweh, I have given to the Levites to inherit. Therefore I have said unto them, among the children of Israel, they shall have no inheritance. And the Lord Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, thus speak unto the Levites, and say unto them, when ye take of the children of Israel the tithes, which I have given you from them for your inheritance, then ye shall offer up an heave offering of it for the Lord Yahweh, even a tenth part of the tithe. And this your heave offering shall be reckoned unto you, as though it were the corn of the threshing floor, and as the fullness of the winepress. Thus ye also shall offer an heave offering unto the Lord Yahweh of all your tithes, which ye receive of the children of Israel, and ye shall give thereof the Lord Yahweh's heave offering to Aaron the priest. So we gave, our offerings to the priests, and, they would do, like we read about in Leviticus, 23 and 9 on down, they would wave that before the altar, before the Most High, of our offerings that we gave of the full year, So let me get this in Malachi right quick, because you got a Christian church talking about the tithes, and you got to get 10% of your earnings and your money, and they pulled the will a man rob God, with his tithes and offering, but they're not really getting the full how things supposed to be in their sense. Malachi chapter 3, and I'm gonna start at verse 8. Malachi chapter 3, verse 8. Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offering. Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even this whole nation. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house, and prove me now herewith, said the Lord of hosts, if I will not if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. And I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes, and he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground, neither shall your vine cast her fruit before the time in the field, said the Lord Yahweh of hosts, and all nations shall call you blessed, for ye shall be delightsome. For ye shall be a delightsome land, said the Lord Yahweh of hosts. So if you gave to the Most High, what you were supposed to give according to, your increase, your corn, your cattle, your livestock, your wine, your oil, the Most High will prevent that spirit from destroying your land. But if you hold back from the Most High, the Most High will, literally destroy, your basically all that you have. So it's important for us to give what we're supposed to give to the Most High, and that's even so deep. You got Job, the 11th chapter, the 6th verse, wisdom, things in the scriptures is double to that which is, it's not, you could just say it's saying one thing, but it's also saying something else on a more deeper spiritual level, because everything is spiritual. You don't want to just look at something and just look at it like, okay, that's what they're talking about. That's all they're talking about. No, it's something deeper than that. Even so much more. You got the parable, of, it's like it's trying to escape me, the talents, they hid the talent. The man with the one talent, he hid it in the earth. He said, I sold, with the reapers, knowing that thou is a hard man, kind of want to get there right quick, not to just roughly paraphrase it. This is Matthew chapter 25 and verse Matthew chapter 25 and 24. Matthew 25 and 24. Then he which had received the one talent came and said, Lord, I knew thee that thou art an hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed. And I was afraid, and went and hid thy talent in the earth. Lo, there thou hast that is thine. His Lord answered and said unto him, Thou wicked and slothful servant, thou knewest that I reap where I sowed not, and gather where I had not strawed. Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received my own with usury. Take therefore the talent from him, and give it unto him which had 10 talents. For unto every one that had shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that had not shall be taken away even that which he had. And cast ye the unprofitable servant into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. You see that? So that's, that's on the same spiritual level as, you basically not giving to the Most High what you're supposed to be giving them. And just like this, Malachi chapter 3 verse 11, and it reads, and I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes. So you can have somebody devour. So like you can have a spirit, whatever the Most High wanted to use to devour your land, your oil, your grapes, your vineyard, your cattle, whatever, because you holding back. So let me get this in Malachi chapter 1, going over what robbing the Most High God, is talking about. Malachi chapter 1, and I'm gonna start at I'm gonna start at verse 10, Malachi chapter 1, verse 10, and it reads, "Who is there even among you that would shut the doors for naught? Neither do ye kindle fire on my altar for naught. I have no pleasure in you, said the Lord Yahweh of hosts. Neither will I accept an offering at your hand. For from the rising of the sun even unto the going down of the same, my name shall be great among the Gentiles. And in every place incense shall be offered unto my name, and a pure offering for my name shall be great among the heathen, said the Lord Yahweh of hosts." You know, that's Psalms chapter 6, verse Malachi 1 and 12. "But ye have profaned it, in that ye say the table of the Lord Yahweh is polluted, and the fruit thereof, even his meat, is contemptible." Verse 13, Malachi 1 and 13. "Ye also, so like ye said also, behold, what a weariness is it, and ye have snuffed at it, said the Lord Yahweh of hosts, and ye brought that which was torn, and the lame, and the sick. Thus ye brought an offering. Should I accept this of your hand, said the Lord Yahweh? Be cursed, but cursed be the deceiver, which had in his flock a male, and vowed and sacrificed unto the Lord Yahweh Shem Shah a corrupt thing. For I am a great king, said the Lord Yahweh of hosts, and my name is dreadful among the heathen." You see that? So you don't want to give the Most High the worst of your increase of your offering, and keep the best to yourself. You know. So we can't, just like the words say, we can't rob the Most High. You know. We can't appear before the Most High empty. You know, we cannot appear before the Most High empty. Let me get this in. Let me see. I probably don't. Let me see. I probably don't need this precept. Probably just hold this. Yeah, I'm gonna just hold that. Let's go to Sirach chapter 35. Yeah, we can't appear before the Most High empty, man. We can't hold back on the Most High. You know, on a physical level and on a spiritual level, we can't hold back on the Most High. You know, this is Sirach chapter 35, and I'm gonna start at verse 1. "He that keepeth the law bringeth offerings enough." You know, so if you keeping these laws, statutes, commandments to the best of your ability, you bringing offerings enough. You know, because this is more so on a spiritual scale, that what we have to do now, being that we have Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, being that we have Christ, the Messiah. You know, we don't have the Levitical priesthood at the moment to be able to go and take offerings and the tenth of our tithes, man. We don't have that ability. But now, you know, like the words say, you know, we have the ability to bring offerings by keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments. Sirach chapter 35 and verse 1. "He that keepeth the law bringeth offerings enough. He that taketh heed to the commandment offereth a peace offering." And that's going into Leviticus, the 3rd chapter. Leviticus 3 and verse 1. You know, and as I say, you offer a peace offering, you offer that at your own will, man. Let me read that right quick. Leviticus chapter 3 and verse 1. Leviticus chapter 3, starting at verse 1. "And if his oblation be a sacrifice of peace offering, he offer it of the herd, whether it be a male or a female. He shall offer it without blemish before the Lord Yahweh. He shall lay his hand upon the head of his offering and kill it at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And Aaron's sons, the priests, shall sprinkle the blood upon the altar round about." You see that? But we don't have that ability to do that anymore. That's not required because we have Hamashiach Yahweh Shah. You know, let me get this quick precept right quick. me see where this is. This is, let me see, Salakia. I thought I was able to find it, but this is Leviticus chapter 19 and Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 5, and it reads, and if ye offer a sacrifice of peace offerings unto the Lord Yahweh, ye shall offer it at your own will. It shall be eaten the same day ye offer it, and on the morrow, and if aught remain unto the third day, it shall be burnt in the fire. And if it be eaten at all on the third day, it is abominable. It shall not be accepted thereof. So therefore, everyone that eateth it shall bear his iniquity, because he had profaned the hallowed thing of the Lord Yahweh, and that soul shall be cut off from among his people. And when ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not wholly reap the corners of thy field, neither shalt thou gather the gleanings of thy harvest. And thou shalt not glean thy vineyard, neither shalt thou gather every grape of thy vineyard. Thou shalt leave them for the poor and stranger. I am the Lord your God power. So, we even looked out for those that are lower estate in our, in our land, and that's how much we had, So, Sirach 35 and verse 2. Sirach chapter 35 and verse 2. He that required a good turn offered fine flour, and he that giveth, and that's going into Leviticus as well. Leviticus 2 and 1. And he that giveth alms sacrificeth praise. Sirach 35 and 3. To depart from wickedness is a thing pleasing to the Lord, and to forsake unrighteousness is a propitiation, meaning that's a atonement, that's a sacrifice. And to forsake unrighteousness is a propitiation, meaning atonement, sacrifice. Sirach 35 and 4. Thou shalt not appear empty before the Lord. So you don't want to appear before the Lord empty. You want to have, something to be able to come before the Most High with, something that you're confident about, praying, you trusting, you believing, you keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, you long suffering, you're merciful to others, you're meek, you're humble, you can't just come up before the Lord and niggatry, man, idolatry, pride and proudness and covetousness. You don't want to come before the Lord empty. We understand that, in the ancient days, you couldn't come before the Lord empty. You had to give according to the ability for you to give. But now, you gotta trust the Lord. You gotta believe on the Lord. You gotta have some charity. You don't want to be slothful. You want to be praying. You want to be reading. You want to have done fasted this year. You shouldn't be coming before the Lord and you ain't fasted. You only kept the Day of Atonement. You barely kept the Passover. That's not that's not a good sight in the eyes of the Lord. So don't appear empty before the Lord. Sirach 35 and 5. For all these things are to be done because of the commandment. The offering of the righteous maketh the altar fat, and the sweet savor thereof is before the Most High. Ecclesiasticus 35 and 7. Sirach chapter 35 and verse 7. The sacrifice of a just man is acceptable, and the memorial thereof shall never be forgotten. You see that? Give the Lord his honor with a good eye, and diminish not the first fruits of thy hands. Let's read it again. Sirach chapter 35 and verse 8. If you got Apocrypha, it would be called Ecclesiasticus, which is known as Sirach. You know, it's literally after Wisdom of Solomon. You know, it's literally after Wisdom of Solomon. If you can find your apocrypha, you know, try to get you one. You know, Ecclesiasticus chapter 35 and verse 8. Give the Lord his honor with a good eye, and diminish not the first fruits of thine hands. Verse 9. In all thy gifts shew a cheerful countenance, and dedicate thy tithes with gladness. Give unto the Most High according as he hath enriched thee, and as thou hast gotten, give with a cheerful eye. For the Lord recompense it, and will give thee 7 times as much. You see that? So, hey, you should be able to give back what the Lord has given you, you know. So let me get a couple more what you can give, what you should be able to give, and we're gonna get a couple more precepts before we close out through the Spirit of Yahweh Shah. So this is this is what you don't want to give, you know, and this could be deemed as appearing before the Most High empty, because this is wicked. You know, this is Galatians chapter 5 and verse 16. This I say then, walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusted against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. But if ye be led of the Spirit, ye are not under the law. Meaning, you are forsaking the flesh, and you're allowing the Most High to dwell in you. You know, 1 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 16. The Most High, you know, he's over the temple. The Most High is dwelling in the temple. Also, 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 19. You know, the Most High is control of the body. You know, you are brought with the price. That's 1 Corinthians 6 and 19. And this is Galatians chapter 5 and verse 19. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, which is going into sins in the mind, or debauchery, Galatians 5 and 20, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, you know, different wicked doctrines, envyings, murderers, drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God power. You know, so when the Most High comes back and gathers up his harvest, you know, if you having these characteristics, you're going to be considered the tares, man, that you read about in Matthew the 13th chapter. You know, verse Galatians chapter 5 and verse 22. This is what you want to have, so you don't appear empty before the Lord. Galatians chapter 5 verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. You see that? So let me get this in Matthew right quick. This is Matthew chapter 13. And I'm gonna start at let's see, Matthew chapter 13. I'm gonna start at, I don't want to read this whole thing. You can read this. You know, this is a mighty chapter. This is good to read. This is I'm gonna start at Matthew chapter 13, and I'm going to start at verse 38. Matthew chapter 13, verse 38. The field is the world. This is going into the parable that Hamashiach Christ spoke about. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that soweth them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. You see that? So you got the field is the world, going into the parable that Christ taught. The good seed are the children of the kingdom. You know, so the wheat, those that are going to be gathered up and kept, are going to be the 1/3 that you read about in Zechariah the 13th chapter. You know, that will make it out of Babylon the Great when Babylon the Great gets destroyed. You know, and you have verse 39. The enemy, it's like the tares. Verse 38, the field is the world, Matthew chapter 13. So like in Matthew chapter 13 and verse 38, the field is the world, the good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. So you have the wheat is going to be kept, which is considered as the elect, the righteous, and the tares, which are the wicked, you know, they're going to be burned in the lake of fire that you read about in Isaiah the 66th chapter. 15th verse that you read about in Jeremiah, I believe it's chapter 50, Jeremiah chapter 51. Let me see, let me make sure. Jeremiah chapter read about that in Jeremiah chapter 50. You know, Jeremiah chapter 51 and, you know, verse 39, Matthew chapter 13, verse 39, the enemy that soweth them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. So, you know, just like we read in Ruth, how they was reaping, you know, in the fields, you know, in the second coming of Mashiach Yahushua Christ, you know, the angels are going to have the sense of knowing who's righteous and who's wicked, who needs to be put to death for breaking the laws, statutes, commandments, and those who didn't want to believe and hearken and come back to the Lord, and those who have done wickedness and the heathens as well. You know, Matthew chapter 13 and 40. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. Verse 41, the Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offer. So like all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who had ears to hear, let him hear. Meaning, if you can understand that on a spiritual level, you know, to understand that when Christ comes back, you know, which is going to be World War III, if you didn't know, Revelation chapter 14 and 11, Isaiah chapter 9 and 5, you know, those thermonuclear will be destroying Babylon the Great, you know. So knowing that, you know, you have to make sure that the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, for one, which are the Israelites, they will have a chance to repent. And they are the only ones that can repent, because they are the ones that Christ had came for. In Matthew the 15th chapter, the 24th verse, you know, he only came for the Israelites, you know, to save them. Luke 1 and 68 all the way down, you know, verse 71, you know. So let's go to Revelation 14 and 14 and get a couple more before we close out through the spirit of Yahweh Shah. It's the book of Revelation chapter 14, starting at verse 14. And it reads, And I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. So a sickle is something that you can gather up the wheat with. Verse 15, and another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud. And these are visions that our forefathers seen and the prophets seen, because when you go to Numbers, the 12th chapter, it tells you how you can identify a prophet. This is Numbers chapter 12 and verse 6. And it reads, and he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord Yahweh, will make myself known unto him in a vision and will speak unto him in a dream. You see that? So a John the Revelator, because that's what revelation is, meaning revealing of Christ, Hamashiach Yahushua. He was able to have certain visions given to him to be able to have things where we can understand now. Revelation chapter 14, verse 15. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. Verse 17, Revelation 14 and 17. And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar which had power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather thy clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God power. You see that? So, when these angels come back, they're going to be doing mightiest works, man. Let me see if I can get this precept right quick. This is Sirach chapter 39 and verse 28. Ecclesiasticus chapter 39 and verse 28. And it reads, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction they pour out their force, and appease the wrath of him that made him. Fire and hail and famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. You see that? So the angels, they are set up to do such things as destruction and salvation. You have the chariots that are going to gather the elect, the wheat, the elect, which is identified as the wheat, man. So this is Psalms chapter 104, and we're going to get a couple of precepts on chariots right quick. Psalms chapter 104 and verse 3. May have to kind of speed it up because I'm about to die. Lord willing, we can hold it off. Lord willing. Psalm chapter 104 and verse 3. And it reads, who laid the beams of his chambers in the waters? Who maketh the clouds his chariot? Who walketh upon the wings of the wind? Who maketh his angels spirits, his ministers a flaming fire? You see that? So these chariots are going to gather up the wheat, which is the elect. So let me get one more in Zechariah chapter 5. Zechariah chapter 5 and verse 1. Going over the chariot. Talking about the chariot. And it reads, then I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. And he said unto me, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. Then said he unto me, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. You see that? So that's talking about a chariot, So let me get another one. Let me get another account right quick. Lord willing, I'll be able to get one. This is Let me find this precept right quick. Let me see if I can find this precept. Let me find this right quick. I'm trying to get another account right quick on the chariot. Let me see if I can find this. Let me see. So like, give me a minute. I'm trying to find this right quick. Let me see. This is 2 Kings chapter 2. I'm gonna start at verse 1, and it reads, "And it came to pass when the Lord Yahweh would take up Elijah into heaven by a whirlwind, that Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal." You see that? So a chariot took up Elijah. You see that? So the same way a chariot took up Elijah, that's the same way a chariot is going to take up the wheat, the elect, you know? So through the spirit of power, Yahweh Shah, let me get this last precept, you know. This is Revelation chapter 22, and I'm going to start at verse 12, and it reads, "And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give every man according as his work shall be." You know, that's going into Matthew chapter 16. So Lord willing, you know, this is edifying to you. You know, keep the first fruits, the feast of first fruits to the best of your ability, and the righteous appointed season that you're supposed to keep it, and the righteous spirit that you possibly can keep it to the best of your ability. You know, and you know, be joyful, be mindful of what the Most High has given us and what the Most High has done for us and what is going to come for the Most High to do, you know, to be able to, you know, give us a land that is filled with pleasant things, Lord willing, if we endure, and, you know, make it to the promised land, make it to the kingdom, get delivered out of Babylon the Great, you know. So through the spirit of Yahweh Shah, Lord willing, this was edifying. Peace and blessing to you. Happy feast of Pentecost. You know, matter of fact, Salaki, let me get this right quick. This is kind of almost escaped me. This is Acts chapter 2. And I'm gonna start at verse 1. Acts chapter 2, verse 1. And it reads, "And when the day of Pentecost was fully come," and that literally is going into the Greek word of 50th. You know, that's what Pentecost literally is talking about, you know, and like we just read in Leviticus 23, you know, and Exodus 34, you know, you count 7 Sabbaths from the time you kept Passover, which you would get 49, and then the next day will be the 50th day, and that's where you get Pentecost from. So let's get Acts 18 to 21. It's the book of Acts chapter 18 and verse 21, and it reads, you know, our mighty forefathers, apostles, and, you know, Apostle Paul kept it, you know, Acts chapter 18 and verse 21, and it reads, "But bade them farewell, saying, I must by all means keep this feast that cometh in Jerusalem, but I will return again unto you, if God power will." And he sailed from Ephesus. So now let's go to Acts 20. This is the book of Acts chapter 20. And starting at verse, I'm going to start at verse, let me see, I'm going to start at verse 16. Acts chapter 20, verse 16. "For Paul had determined to sail by Ephesus, because he would not spend the time in Asia, for he hasted it, if it were possible for him to be at Jerusalem the day of Pentecost. He had the necessary means of going to Jerusalem to keep the feast that was appointed for the males to be there for 3 times, to be able to keep the Passover, Feast of Weeks, and Tabernacles through the Spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Lord willing, this was edifying to you. Brother Hosea, give it all, Brother Hosea, fisherman for Zion, give it all glory and honor to Yahweh Bashem Mashak Yahushua. Call Yahweh Bashem Mashak Yahushua. Peace and blessing to you. Kum Yahshua Shalom.